Welcome to the Western Sydney University Report Writing Workshop video. In this report writing video, we will cover the assignment expectations, assignment preparation, how to have the correct report structure, how to have proper paragraph structure, working on development of ideas, how to include evidence, in-text figures and captions, how to have correct writing style, grammar and spelling, and finally how to have proper referencing style, paraphrasing and reference lists. In this assignment, it will be expected that you will be able to apply analytical skills in identifying a problem, then analyzing the causes of the problem. This will be based on theory, research and experience. Then searching for solutions to this problem. This will also be based on theory, research and experience, and will have group and individual components. Then finally, selecting the best solution to the problem. This will also be based on criteria, which is evidence-based or based on specific data, theory and research findings. As a tip, refer to Assignment 2 outline and the marking criteria in the HD column. In preparation for the assignment, it is best to start as a group. The first task is to read the assignment outline and understand the task as a group. Then to decide the industry problem that you want to focus on. Next will be designing assessment criteria for the quality of your individual solutions. Your group design criteria section is also worth 3 marks. Then as an individual, you should research for resources. Then you will evaluate the resources for currency, which is the date, authority, which is the author, and reliability, whether it is from a journal article or an institutional source. We will now discuss effective reading. It is important to read your article strategically so that you can much more quickly and efficiently gather the relevant information. This is first done by skimming for relevance. Check the title, headings and subheadings, such as the introduction, abstract and conclusion. Next you'll scan, look for the certain words, concepts, statistics and diagrams that are relevant to your topic. Then you will decide how to use this piece of reading material. For example, you can reference for theory or concept within the article. For example, how is it related to the problem or solution in your report? Or you can use the data as evidence, for example, showing a percentage of improvement. The other alternative is to use a graph within the article and reference that to show a relationship or illustrate a problem. Once you have done your reading, the next important step is taking notes. You'll want to highlight the sections that are of the highest relevance to your topic. If you're reading from a computer screen, you can use the highlight tool to highlight the sections that you'll read again or you'll use for future reference. Then you'll want to write down the key concepts and definitions with author details and page numbers so you can find these concepts and definitions again quickly. If you're writing your own notes on pen and paper, use lots of white space in between so it's easy to read, and also you can add extra information later. Finally, you will also use your notes to indicate how concepts and ideas are linked to problems or solutions. You might want to draw a mind map or some other diagram to illustrate this for your own reference. Now for report structure. This can be seen in the Assignment 2 outline. What you will need in your report is a title, an executive summary, a table of contents, your project scope and problem context, the design criteria, the alternative solutions investigated, your proposed final solution, and a conclusion. We will now talk about writing the executive summary. This will be a team effort component of your report. It will be 150 words and the details are in the assignment 2 outline. So you may be asking, why do we need an executive summary? Well, it will give readers an abstract of the contents of the report, so they will get a basic understanding of the report without actually having to read the whole thing. Make sure that in your executive summary you cover the following: the purpose of your project, an overview of the problem and the area selected to investigate solutions, a brief description of the alternative solutions that you encountered, and the design criteria and selection of your final proposed solution. A quick note on the table of contents: this will be a team effort and is not counted in the word limit. Check the details in the assignment 2 outline. Now for the body of the report. The body of the report will be divided into sections with their own headings. For this assignment 2, there will be 5 headings. Number 1, the project scope and problem context. This will be team effort and should be 250 words. Number 2, design criteria. This will also be team effort but is not counted in the word limit. Number 3, the alternative solutions investigated. This will now be individual. Each member writes 750 words on their solution with a clear labeling of the writer's name. Number 4, the proposed final solution. This will be team effort again, 250 words. And finally, number 5, the conclusion. Another team effort and only 100 words. Remember to read the requirements for each heading, which is in the assignment 2 outline, pages 2 to 3. When you're getting into the writing of your report, remember to pay attention to the action verbs and nouns in the assignment outline. Examples of action verbs and their corresponding action nouns are identify, which is the action verb, and identification, which is the equivalent action noun. Investigate, which is the verb, and investigation, which is the noun. You have design, which is both verb and noun. Evaluate, the verb, evaluation, the noun. Investigate, which is the verb, investigation, the noun. Analyze, the verb, analysis, the noun. And justify, which is your verb, and justification, which is the noun. You're going to use action verbs and nouns to help you plan your report. First, you're going to think of an action verb or noun. Then you're going to ask yourself what. Then you're going to ask yourself how. We have 3 examples. The action verb is identify, so you're going to ask what. What are you going to identify? And then you might answer, you're going to identify a specific problem and the final solution. Now you ask yourself how. How are you going to do this? So you're going to research literature in the field and evaluate solutions with design criteria designed by your group. The next example, the action verb design. Now you're going to ask design what? So you might design criteria to determine a final solution. Then ask yourself how. And your answer might be, you're going to set details of requirements with the score system. The best example is your assignment marking criteria, which you're going to base your score system off. Finally, as a third example, the action verb evaluate. So evaluation of what? So you might answer that with evaluation of proposed solutions from members. Now how? Use the design criteria and give a total score of each proposed solutions. So these 3 examples show us how we can use these action verbs or nouns, ask ourselves what, and then how, to help us plan for the report and give us a direction of what exactly we want to talk about in the report. As a tip, ask a question of what and then how, and use the answers to help you prepare for your report. On this slide, we will go through a few more action verbs and nouns, and how you can use them to help plan your report using the what and how. First off, analyze and analysis. So you might ask, analyze what? The problems, solutions, benefits, advantages and disadvantages, for example. And then how will you do this? You might research literature for causes of problems, the available solutions, and then compare the advantages and disadvantages. The next example, justify or justification. So you're going to ask, justify what? So you might say you're going to justify how the final solution would resolve the problem. And now you're going to ask yourself how. How are you going to justify this? You might refer to the literature related to proven theory, principles, or successful solutions similar to your problem. And finally, illustrate. So you're going to ask, what will you illustrate? Maybe, for example, you're going to illustrate how your solution will resolve the problem. And then you're going to ask how, by using diagrams, drawings, mind maps, charts, or data. Mind mapping is another great tool to help you organize your ideas for your report. Here we have a mind mapping exercise. In this example, we've identified the problem as being household electricity bill is too high at $1,100 per quarter. To analyze this problem, we've identified the causes of the problem, these being that the weather conditions are extremely hot and cold. Also, the family likes baked dinners at an average of 3 times a week. And finally, the husband has hot baths in winter twice a week to reduce stress. Now we have arrows branching off to show the possible solutions that come about after analyzing our problem. Our possible solution 1 is not to use air conditioning. Our possible solution 2 is to install solar panels. And possible solution 3 is not to cook many baked dinners and stop having hot baths. Now we have drawn arrows of possible solution 2 to show that this is the most plausible solution. And now how do we justify that this is the most plausible solution? We come up with 3 justifications that we can use. Justification 1, that solar panels convert sunlight into electricity and then show evidence of its efficiency for household use. Remember to use references and data. In our justification 2, we talk about the initial cost of solar panels will be compensated by longer-term savings. Then we will use data or charts to show savings and initial cost. Then, as justification 3, we can say that by replacing electricity with solar power, it will reduce the cost but maintain the quality of life of the family. Then we will use graphs to show calculations to back up our justification. Use this format of mind mapping to help you plan your flow of ideas when you are going through your report. We will now talk about producing well-written paragraphs. The following is an example of a well-written paragraph. Take your time to pause the video and read through this example. As a tip, you can find this resource from View UWS, go to Academic Literacy Resources, and then to Academic Writing. We will now talk about producing well-written paragraphs. The following is We will now talk about producing well-written paragraphs. The following is an example of a well-written paragraph. Pause the video and take your time to read through it. As a tip, you can find this resource from View UWS via Academic Literacy Resources via Academic Writing. We will now talk about producing well-written paragraphs. The following is an example of a well-written paragraph. Take your time to read through it. As a tip, you can find this resource from View UWS via Academic Literacy Resources and Academic Writing. We will go through why this is a well-written paragraph in the next slide. Feel free to pause the video to take your time. We will now talk about producing well-written paragraphs. The following is an example of a well-written paragraph. Take your time to read through this. As a tip, you can find this resource from View UWS via Academic Literacy Resources and Academic Writing. So why was the paragraph in the previous slide considered well written? Because there was a focus of information within the paragraph. The whole paragraph focused around the one idea, which was wall and roof insulation, as well as the problems with it and solutions. The paragraph starts off with the topic sentence, which is the first sentence of the entire paragraph. This introduces what the paragraph will be talking about, which was the wall and roof insulation, as well as the solution and the problem, which is heating and cooling. Then it follows on with justifications. The first being it referred to the literature. So it used according to and then used the in-text reference. Then the second thing it did well was it gave a specific statistic, which was the percentage. Australian homes can save up to a certain percent. Then the next good thing it did was it explained how the solution works. It explained the wall and roof insulation and provided the technical knowledge. So it gave an explanation of how it worked. This was in addition, veranda roof insulation is also important as it could reduce radiant heat. So it discusses the technical knowledge of radiant heat. Try to think of these topic sentences and then the justification behind your paragraph when writing your report. The next thing to consider when writing your report is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is extremely important because obviously you don't want to be accused of academic misconduct and plagiarism. The other important thing for paraphrasing is it shows your reader that you have used the information in the articles that you have read and molded that to your specific assignment and assignment criteria. It will show the market that you have understood the material, and that will give them an easier time awarding you marks. Now, take a moment to pause the video and read this text on construction companies. Then in the next slide we will talk about how to paraphrase this. You might also want to have a go at paraphrasing it yourself on your own and then seeing how you can better paraphrase it in the next slide. On this slide we have examples of how to paraphrase the text from the previous slide. The first example is paraphrasing and focusing on the idea of subcontracting. So the text paraphrased becomes, subcontracting refers to the practice when a construction company disseminates different sections of a construction project to different construction sites. These sites are often specialized in different supplies such as material, labor, or equipment. And then you have the in-text reference. The second example of paraphrasing is focused on the option for subcontracting. This is, a construction company may use their own resources or disseminate a construction project to different sub-companies who are specialized in different supplies or labor. And then the in-text reference. Always remember to have the in-text reference to show where you got your information from and to avoid being accused of plagiarism. As a tip, the paraphrase text needs to be incorporated into your writing and have a flow of ideas. When writing your report, you'll have to be aware of your writing style. You'll want to use formal and technical language. Use this formal language and these technical terms to explain your theory, concept, or process. The following are some examples of the words you want to use and the words you want to avoid. For example, material and resources are the words you want to use. You want to avoid stuff. In the left column, you want to use purchase rather than in the right column buy. You want to use agree rather than you say so. Another one you want to use is dissatisfy instead of not happy. Or you want to use poor quality rather than bad quality. And for the last one, you want to avoid using contractions, which is the combining of words using an apostrophe. For example, you want to use does not instead of doesn't. This is extremely important because doesn't is considered informal language, whereas does not is considered formal language. When you are writing your report, another key thing you'll need to consider is grammar and the use of passive voice. This is a key feature of technical writing. Active voice, as an example on the left hand side, is both the company and the client signed the contract. It focuses on action. What you want to do is paraphrase this into a passive voice. So this would be, the contract was signed by the company and the client. This focuses on fact. Another example is the active voice is the company and the client signed the contract on 20th September 2015. You'll want to use a passive voice, which is the contract was signed on 20th September 2015. As a final example, the active voice would be the fire had destroyed the roof of the house. It focuses on the damage of the fire. What you want to do is passive voice. The roof of the house was destroyed by the fire. And this focuses on what happened to the roof. The reference list is one of the last things that you will add at the end of your report. On this slide we have a few examples of how to reference specific types of texts. Go to the link at the bottom to look at how to reference in Harvard style from the university website, which has a complete list for all types of texts. When looking for articles to reference in your report, you'll want to use scholarly resources. A scholarly resource has ideas supported by evidence and academic references, and the author is usually an expert. It is this scholarly research that should be used to support your arguments in your assignments. So where will you find these kinds of articles? First, start with your recommended readings. Then you will look for additional sources in the following places, such as the e-resources in the library website. Go to Library, Resources, e-resources, then Engineering, and you should find tons of articles there. Another powerful tool is Google Scholar. You will be able to search for keywords and find many articles through Google Scholar. If you need more help for the assignment, here are some examples of things you can look for. For example, look for the library staff in red, or go to the Harvard UWS website. Or you can also go to Online Librarian, or iCite is a very powerful tool. There's also RefWorks, which is a web-based bibliography management program and allows you to create your own personal database of references. Finally, there's also the Hub for Academic Literacy and Learning, which you can find on the website at the bottom. Thank you for watching this video, and may it help you in preparation for your assignment.